The massive war room buzzed with quiet activity as holographic displays showed star maps spanning 3 galaxy sectors. Supreme War Marshal Day-Ho stood at the center, his 4 arms crossed behind his back as he studied the glowing reports floating before him. The Kethamoran Empire had conquered 47 worlds in the past decade, and their hunger for expansion never ended. Intelligence Officer Sun Mi approached with careful steps. Her scaled skin glowed pale blue, a sign of nervousness among their species. War Marshal, the report on the human species is complete. Day-Ho turned his massive head toward her. Like all Kethmorans, he stood nearly 8 feet tall, with thick armor plating covering his chest and shoulders. His yellow eyes fixed on the data pad in Sun Mi's clawed hands. "Show me what these humans have to offer." The holographic display changed, showing a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. This is Earth, their homeworld. Population, 8 billion. They achieved basic spaceflight only 200 years ago. Their fastest ships take months to travel between star systems. General Hunwoo stepped forward, his battle scars visible across his gray skin. 200 years? We had faster-than-light travel 3,000 years ago. What threat could they possibly pose? Sun Mi continued her presentation. They have colonized only 3 star systems. Their weapons are mostly kinetic projectiles and crude explosive devices. No energy shields, no plasma weapons. They still use metal projectiles fired from chemical propellants. Admiral Bo-Ra laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. Metal projectiles? Do they throw rocks at their enemies too? Actually, Sun Mi said, checking her notes. Some of their military units do use thrown explosives called grenades. The room filled with amused clicks and hisses from the assembled officers. War Marshal Day-Ho raised one hand for silence. What about their government structure? Fragmented, Sun Mi replied. They have over 200 separate nations on their homeworld alone. They fight constantly among themselves. In the past century, they have engaged in thousands of small conflicts and 2 major wars. Strategic Advisor Wu Bin nodded approvingly. Excellent. A divided enemy is a weak enemy. Their lack of unity will make conquest simple. Sun Mi activated another display showing human military units. Their soldiers carry individual weapons and move in small groups. No powered armor, no energy weapons. They rely on camouflage and hiding rather than superior technology. Primitives, General Hyanwu declared. This will not even qualify as proper combat training for our forces. War Marshal Day-Ho studied the images of human soldiers. They looked small and fragile compared to Kethmoran warriors. Their pale skin seemed thin, easily pierced. They had only 2 arms and stood barely 6 feet tall. What is their industrial capacity? Limited, Sun Mi answered. They build their vehicles and weapons using crude assembly methods. Their manufacturing is slow and inefficient. They have no automated production systems like ours. Admiral Bo-Ra gestured at the star map. War Marshal, their territory contains 17 habitable worlds and rich mineral deposits. The asteroid belts in their systems hold enough rare metals to fuel our expansion for decades. And the humans themselves? Asked Personnel Director Jin-A. What value do they have as laborers? Sun Mi consulted her data again. They are physically weak but seem capable of following simple instructions. With proper conditioning, they could serve as basic workers in our mining operations. War Marshal Day-Ho walked slowly around the holographic display, examining the human star systems from different angles. The decision seemed obvious. 3 barely defended systems against the might of the Kethmoran Empire. It would hardly qualify as a military operation. What forces would you recommend? He asked General Hyunwoo. The scarred general considered for a moment. A single battle group should be sufficient. Perhaps 10,000 troops with standard equipment. We could overwhelm their primitive defenses in days. 10,000 seems excessive, Admiral Bo-Ra interjected. 5,000 elite warriors could accomplish the same result with fewer resources. War Marshal Day-Ho made his decision. We will send the Phantom Talon Regiment, 10,000 of our finest warriors, led by Commander Jin Ho. This will serve as excellent training for our newer soldiers. Commander Jinho stepped forward from his position near the wall. He was younger than the other officers, but had distinguished himself in the conquest of the silicon-based Veltar worlds. I am honored, War Marshal. How long do you estimate this operation will take? 3 weeks at most, Deho replied. 1 week to reach their territory, 1 week to secure surrender from their governments, and 1 week to establish our occupation forces. Sunmi cleared her throat nervously. War Marshal, there is one unusual aspect of human behavior mentioned in our intelligence reports. Speak. They have a tendency toward unpredictable actions when threatened. Some human military units have continued fighting even when victory was impossible. General Hyunwoo waved a dismissive hand. All primitive species show desperation when faced with superior force. It passes quickly once they understand their situation. The reports also mention something they call guerrilla warfare, Sunmi continued. Small groups of humans attacking larger forces using ambush tactics and then disappearing. Admiral Bora snorted. Hide-and-seek games. Cowardly behavior from a weak species. Our sensors will track them easily. War Marshal Deho nodded slowly. Commander Jinho, you will depart in 2 days. Take the standard conquest package, orbital bombardment capability, ground assault vehicles, and occupation equipment. Make contact with human leadership and demand surrender. If they refuse, demonstrate our superiority through limited orbital strikes until they comply. Understood, War Marshal. Should I prepare for extended ground combat? Unnecessary. Their primitive weapons cannot penetrate our armor. A show of force should be sufficient. Deho turned to address the entire room. Gentlemen, this operation represents another step in our great expansion. These humans will learn to serve the Empire, just as 47 other species have learned before them. Commander Jinho saluted and left the chamber to prepare his forces. The other officers began discussing logistics and resource allocation for the new territory they would soon control. Sunmi remained behind, still studying her intelligence reports. Something about the human data troubled her, though she could not identify exactly what. The numbers all supported easy conquest, but small details nagged at her mind. References to human conflicts that lasted for years, despite overwhelming odds. Mentions of entire human populations fighting rather than surrendering. Is there a problem, intelligence officer? War Marshal Deho asked, noticing her hesitation. No, sir. Just ensuring all data is complete. She closed the reports and filed them away. The decision had been made. In 3 weeks, human space would belong to the Kethmoran Empire, and these primitive creatures would begin their new lives as servants to a superior species. As the war room emptied, holographic displays continued showing the 3 human star systems. Small, isolated, defended by obsolete weapons and divided governments. The conquest would be so routine that it barely deserved documentation in the Empire's military histories. None of the Kethmoran officers considered that they might be making the greatest mistake in their species' 3,000-year history. The humans appeared weak, primitive, and divided. Every logical analysis supported quick victory. They were about to discover that logic did not always apply to human behavior. Commander Jinho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony world grow larger on the main screen. New Seoul looked exactly as the intelligence reports had described, a small agricultural world with basic industrial facilities and a population of 2 million humans, perfect for demonstrating Kethmoran superiority. Orbital scans complete, reported Navigator So Young. No orbital defenses detected. Their space dock contains civilian cargo ships only. No military vessels in system. As expected. Jinho activated the communication system. Open a channel to the planetary government. The screen flickered, showing a human male sitting behind a simple metal desk. He appeared middle-aged by human standards with gray hair and tired eyes. The man looked directly into the camera with no sign of fear or surprise. I am Colonial Administrator Wu Jin, the human said calmly. We have been monitoring your approach for the past 6 hours. Are you here to establish diplomatic contact? Jin Ho was momentarily surprised by the direct response. Most species showed immediate terror when first encountering Kethmoran warships. I am Commander Jin Ho of the Kethmoran Empire. You will surrender your world immediately and prepare your population for integration into our empire. Administrator Wu Jin leaned back in his chair. I see, and if we refuse? Your cities will be reduced to ash from orbit. Your people will die. Surrender now and they will be permitted to live as workers for the empire. The human was quiet for several seconds, appearing to consider the offer. Finally, he nodded slowly. I need to consult with our colonial council. Can you give us 1 hour to discuss terms? Jin Ho felt pleased with the reasonable response. You have 1 hour. Do not attempt to contact other human worlds. Our jamming systems are already active. The communication ended. Jin Ho turned to his tactical officer. Maintain position. Prepare landing forces but do not deploy yet. These humans seem more sensible than most primitives. Lieutenant Hei-Wan checked her sensors. Sir, I am detecting increased activity at their industrial facilities. Power output has risen 30% in the last 10 minutes. Probably shutting down non-essential systems to prepare for our arrival, Jin Ho replied. Continue monitoring. On the surface of New Seoul, Administrator Wu Jin was indeed consulting with the Colonial Council, but the discussion was not about surrender terms. How long do we have? Asked Defense Coordinator Yunji, studying tactical displays showing the alien ships in orbit. Maybe 6 hours before they get suspicious, Wu Jin answered. They think we are preparing to surrender. Captain Minho of the Colonial Defense Force spread out equipment lists on the conference table. We have 300 trained militia and about 50 veterans from the Mars conflict. Not exactly an army. But we have advantages they do not expect, Yunji pointed out. Every adult on this world knows how to operate mining equipment, construction, vehicles, and industrial machinery. We can turn our infrastructure into weapons. Engineer Sojin entered the room carrying a modified plasma torch. I have converted 12 industrial cutting tools into weapons. They will penetrate any armor at close range. We can produce more in the next few hours. What about the orbital bombardment threat? Asked Council Member J1. Minho smiled grimly. That is actually our biggest advantage. They want to preserve the industrial facilities and the population. They cannot destroy what they came here to steal. Across the colony, humans moved with quiet efficiency. Mining explosives were redistributed to strategic locations. Construction mechs received hasty weapon modifications. Teachers led children to underground shelters while simultaneously establishing communication networks. Dr. Sang-ho organized medical stations in locations the aliens would not expect. Abandoned buildings, maintenance tunnels, and natural cave systems. Every human on New Seoul understood their role in the coming fight. The hour passed quickly. Commander Jin Ho reopened communications, expecting to receive formal surrender. Commander Jin Ho, Administrator Wu Jin said, his expression unchanged. The Colonial Council has reached a decision. Excellent. Begin broadcasting surrender announcements to your population. Actually, we choose to decline your offer. Jin Ho felt his confidence waver slightly. You refuse surrender? Do you understand? What this means, we understand perfectly. You want our world, our resources, and our people as slaves. We refuse. Then you have chosen death. Jin Ho cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Target their government complex with a precision strike. Minimal damage to surrounding structures. The orbital bombardment lasted 30 seconds. A single energy beam lanced down from space, striking the Colonial Administration building and reducing it to smoking rubble. Sir, reported Communications Officer Yoon Seo, we are receiving a response from the planet. The screen activated, showing Administrator Wu Jin again. He appeared to be in a different location, with rough stone walls behind him. A small cut on his forehead showed he had been close to the bombardment. Was that supposed to frighten us? Wu Jin asked calmly. Jin Ho stared at the screen. How are you still alive? We expected your attack. Our real government facilities are underground. The building you destroyed was evacuated hours ago. Wu Jin leaned forward. Now let me explain something about humans, Commander. We do not surrender easily. The communication ended abruptly. Jin Ho stood in confused silence for several moments. Sir, Lieutenant Haiwan reported. Sensors show massive movement across the colony. Thousands of humans are leaving the cities and spreading into the wilderness. Deploy ground forces immediately, Jin Ho ordered. I want this world pacified within 6 hours. The Phantom Talon Regiment descended in armored shuttles, expecting to face scattered resistance from a demoralized population. Instead, they encountered something unprecedented in Keth Moran military experience. The first shuttle to land was destroyed before its passengers could disembark. A modified mining vehicle emerged from concealment and fired an improvised rocket directly into the shuttle bay. The explosion killed 20 elite warriors instantly. Impossible, Jin Ho muttered, watching the tactical displays. Their weapons cannot penetrate our vehicles. But the attacks continued. Humans appeared from hiding places, attacked with crude but effective weapons, then disappeared again. Keth Moran forces found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to stand still, long enough to be properly defeated. Sergeant Dongmin led his squad into what appeared to be an abandoned factory. The building erupted in flames as hidden explosive charges detonated. Only 3 of his 12 warriors survived, and they were badly wounded. These humans fight like they have nothing to lose, reported Lieutenant Youngsu over the radio. They attack our positions knowing they will die. Captain Insu's reconnaissance unit was ambushed by humans using converted construction equipment. Massive industrial diggers, modified with improvised armor and weapons, proved surprisingly effective against Keth Moran vehicles. By nightfall, the Phantom Talon Regiment had lost 200 soldiers and gained control of exactly 0 strategic objectives. The humans had abandoned their cities but continued attacking from the wilderness with increasing coordination. Commander Jin Ho studied casualty reports with growing disbelief. These are primitive weapons wielded by untrained civilians. How are we taking losses? Sir, tactical analyst Chang Min reported. The humans are not fighting like civilians. They move with military discipline and coordination. Someone is directing their operations. Find their leadership and eliminate them. We have tried, sir. Every time we identify a command post, it turns out to be empty or defended by humans willing to die rather than retreat. Jin Ho stared at the tactical display showing his scattered forces across New Seoul. Red markers indicated Keth Moran casualties. The numbers continued to grow. For the first time in his military career, Commander Jin Ho began to suspect that this operation might not proceed according to plan. The humans were not behaving like any conquered species in Keth Moran records. They seemed to be treating the invasion not as an inevitable defeat, but as a problem to be solved through any means necessary, and they appeared to be very good at solving problems. Admiral Bora arrived at the New Seoul system with the largest Keth Moran reinforcement fleet ever assembled for a single operation. 50 heavy cruisers and 200 support vessels, carrying enough firepower to reduce entire worlds to molten slag. She expected to find the remnants of the Phantom Talon Regiment mopping up after their easy conquest. Instead, her sensors detected human ships patrolling the system with obvious confidence. They moved in formations that seemed familiar yet wrong, using tactics that resembled Keth Moran naval doctrine but with subtle improvements. Communications officer, open a channel to Commander Jin Ho, Bora ordered. Admiral, came the response. We are receiving no signal from any Phantom Talon vessels. Bora studied her tactical display with growing unease. The ships in the system were clearly human in origin, but they carried energy signatures that matched Keth Moran technology. Scan for Keth Moran vessels. Scanning complete, Admiral. No active Keth Moran ships detected in system. The impossible truth struck her immediately. The Phantom Talon Regiment was gone, not defeated in glorious battle, not retreated to regroup, but completely eliminated. 10,000 elite warriors and their supporting fleet had simply vanished. Admiral, her tactical officer reported, the human ships are moving to intercept us. They appear to be taking an aggressive posture. Admiral Do Hyun's voice came over the communication channel, speaking in fluent Kethmaran with perfect military protocol. Kethmaran fleet, you are trespassing in human space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Bo-Ra activated her response channel. Human Commander, I am Admiral Bo-Ra of the Kethmaran Imperial Navy. You will surrender immediately and prepare for planetary occupation. Admiral Bo-Ra, Do-Hyun replied calmly. Your predecessor made a similar demand. His forces are no longer available to repeat their mistakes. The human fleet began its attack before Bo-Ra could fully process the implications of that statement. But this was not the primitive resistance she had expected. These human ships fought with coordinated precision that matched the finest Kethmaran naval units. Their weapons were wrong. Instead of crude kinetic projectiles, the humans fired streams of coherent energy that seemed to be improved versions of Kethmaran plasma systems. Their shields deflected incoming fire with efficiency that exceeded Imperial Navy standards. How are they using our technology? Demanded Bo-Ra. Chief Engineer Seok-Jin studied the sensor readings with obvious confusion. Admiral, those are not copies of our weapons. They appear to be our own systems, but modified in ways that improve their performance. The battle continued with results that defied every principle of Kethmaran military doctrine. The humans anticipated alien tactics and responded with countermeasures that seemed specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Imperial Navy procedures. Bo-Ra watched her fleet take casualties at an alarming rate. All ships, fall back to defensive formation. Activate emergency protocols. Admiral, her communications officer reported, the humans are broadcasting on our secure military channels. They are using current Imperial Navy codes. The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly. Human ships moved with perfect knowledge of Kethmaran fleet formations and communication procedures. They struck at precisely the moments when alien defenses were weakest, targeting systems that should have been protected by classified information. Engineering Corps Leader Ji-Won commanded the human technical assault from his mobile command station. His teams had spent months analyzing captured Kethmaran technology, identifying improvements that the aliens had never considered. Target their flagship's secondary power systems, he ordered. Use the enhanced plasma streams, frequency 77 alpha. EDI, human weapons struck with precision that amazed even their operators. Kethmaran shields designed to stop known energy weapons proved inadequate against human modifications that increased power output by 40% while reducing energy consumption. Admiral Bo-Ra's flagship shuddered under impact from weapons that should not have existed. Engineering report status of our defensive systems. Systems failing, Admiral. The human weapons are using our own technology against us, but with modifications that overcome our countermeasures. How is that possible? Her chief engineer's response chilled her. Admiral, they would need detailed technical specifications of our shield generators and weapon systems to make these modifications. They would need access to our most classified military research. Bo-Ra realized the horrible truth. The humans possessed complete intelligence on Kethmaran military technology. They had not just captured alien equipment, they had improved it beyond Imperial Navy capabilities. In the Ground Command Center on New Seoul, Intelligence Director Chang Min coordinated the intelligence war with methodical efficiency. His teams had spent weeks interrogating Kethmaran prisoners and analyzing captured data systems. Admiral Do-Hyun, he reported over the secure channel, enemy fleet communications are following predictable patterns. They will attempt to regroup at coordinates 7 Mark 14 in approximately 12 minutes. Understood. All ships, prepare to intercept enemy retreat. The humans had not just learned Kethmaran tactics, they had identified the psychological patterns that drove alien military decision-making. Every move Bo-Ra's fleet made was anticipated and countered before it could be completed. Special Forces Captain In-Soo led boarding parties onto disabled Kethmaran vessels with equipment that seemed designed specifically for fighting alien soldiers. His troops wore armor that combined human design with alien technology, creating protection that surpassed either species' individual achievements. Secure all technical data systems, In-Soo ordered his teams. Priority targets are navigation, computers, and communication records. The human boarding parties moved through alien ships with obvious experience. They knew the layout of Kethmaran vessels and the location of critical systems. They disabled alien crews using weapons that exploited specific vulnerabilities in alien biology. Bora found herself prisoner aboard her own flagship, watching human technicians work with her ship's systems as if they had built them personally. The humans operated alien controls with perfect familiarity, accessing information that should have been protected by multiple security protocols. "You have been preparing for this for years," she said to her human captor. Lieutenant Colonel Hyo-jin nodded while examining captured intelligence files. "We have been preparing for this since your empire first detected our existence. We knew contact was inevitable. We chose to make it happen on our terms. The Phantom Talon Regiment provided us with everything we needed to understand your military capabilities. Commander Jin-ho and his forces served humanity very well, though not in the way they intended. The systematic nature of human planning disturbed Bora more than military defeat. These humans had manipulated the Kethmoran Empire into attacking under conditions that guaranteed human victory. On New Sol, Administrator Wu Jin stood before a holographic display showing the battle results. The Kethmoran reinforcement fleet was completely defeated. 250 alien vessels captured or destroyed, with minimal human casualties. "Begin salvage operations," he ordered. "All alien technology is to be analyzed and integrated into our defensive systems." Research Director Ki-young approached with her latest analysis reports. "Administrator, we now have complete technical specifications for Kethmoran military equipment. We can produce superior versions of all their weapons and defensive systems. Production. Timeline? 6 months to full implementation across all human worlds. We will have technological parity with their empire within a year." The implications were staggering. Humanity had leaped from primitive technology to galactic superpower status in a matter of months, using captured alien knowledge to accelerate their development by centuries. Fleet Admiral Do Hyun received confirmation that all Kethmoran vessels in the system had been neutralized. The second alien invasion had failed even more completely than the first. "Admiral," his intelligence officer reported, "analysis of captured communications indicates that the Kethmoran Empire is unaware of our true capabilities. They still believe humans are primitive." Do Hyun studied the tactical displays showing human ships equipped with hybrid technology that exceeded alien performance standards. "How long before they realize their mistake?" "Unknown, sir. But their next response will likely be much larger. Intelligence suggests they may deploy entire battle fleets." "Let them come," Do Hyun replied. "We will be ready." The human fleet began its return to base, carrying captured alien technology and thousands of prisoners who would provide intelligence about Kethmoran military structure and strategic planning. In space around New Sol, wreckage from 2 alien fleets drifted in expanding debris fields. The remains of over 300 Kethmoran vessels served as monuments to the greatest military disaster in their empire's 3,000-year history, and the humans were just getting started. What had begun as a simple conquest had become an intelligence-gathering operation that provided humanity with everything they needed to fight an interstellar empire. The Kethmorans had wanted to demonstrate their superiority to primitive humans. Instead, they had taught humanity how to build weapons capable of destroying entire alien civilizations. Admiral So-young received the emergency transmission while reviewing routine patrol reports at Earth's central military headquarters. The message from New Sol was brief but clear. Hostile alien forces had invaded human space and were currently engaged in ground combat on the colony world. "Activate Protocol 7, she ordered her communications officer. "Send the alert to all human worlds and military installations immediately." Protocol 7 had been established after humanity's last major civil war, when military planners realized that humans needed to be prepared for threats beyond internal conflict. The protocol assumed that any external attack would be overwhelmingly superior to human forces, requiring immediate total mobilization. Within minutes, emergency broadcasts reached every human settlement across 3 star systems. The messages were simple. Humanity was under attack by technologically superior aliens, and every human had a role to play in their species' survival. On Earth, Fleet Commander Taiman stood in the war room deep beneath the Himalayas, watching, as star maps came alive with status indicators. What the Kethmoran intelligence reports had missed was now becoming visible. Humanity's 3 colonized systems contained far more than civilian settlements. "Bring all hidden installations online," Taiman ordered. "I want full activation of Sites Bravo through Yankee within the hour." Across human space, asteroid mining stations revealed themselves to be disguised weapons platforms. Civilian cargo ships activated concealed military equipment. Remote research facilities began producing weapons designed specifically for fighting technologically superior enemies. Intelligence Director Yu Jin activated classified communication channels that had remained dormant for decades. "All agents, report status immediately. Begin Phase 1 intelligence gathering on hostile alien forces." The truth about human preparedness began to emerge from carefully hidden facilities. Humanity had learned hard lessons from centuries of warfare, and those lessons included the importance of appearing weaker than you actually were. On New Sol, Defense Coordinator Yoon-ji received updates from the underground command center that had replaced the destroyed administration building. The news from other human worlds filled her with grim satisfaction. "Help is coming," she announced to the assembled resistance leaders, "but we need to hold out for at least 48 hours. Captain Minho studied tactical reports from his field commanders. "Our casualties are heavy, but theirs are heavier. These aliens are not prepared for our kind of warfare." Engineer So Jin looked up from her improvised weapons production line. "I have analyzed debris from their destroyed vehicles. Their technology is advanced, but it has weaknesses. Their armor is designed to stop energy weapons, not kinetic impacts. Meaning our crude metal projectiles work better against them than they expected. Their shields deflect plasma and lasers, but a steel rod moving at high velocity punches right through." Dr. Sang-ho entered the command center with troubling news. "I have examined alien casualties. Their biology is impressive, but they have obvious vulnerabilities. They require specific atmospheric conditions and cannot function effectively in our winter temperatures." Yoon-ji smiled coldly. "It is currently summer here, but weather control systems in the agricultural sectors can be modified." Across New Sol, the human resistance adapted with startling speed. Civilians who had never held weapons learned to operate military equipment. Children too young to fight served as messengers and spotters. Elderly residents provided knowledge of terrain and hiding places. The Kethmoran forces found themselves facing an enemy unlike anything in their military experience. Human attacks came from unexpected directions using improvised weapons that should not have been effective against superior alien technology. Sergeant Dong Min led his remaining squad through the ruins of what had been a human shopping center. His soldiers moved carefully, sensors sweeping for human activity. The humans had shown a disturbing tendency to appear from nowhere. "Motion detected," reported Private Jian Wu. 50 meters ahead, multiple contacts. The squad advanced cautiously, weapons ready. They found a group of human children apparently hiding in the rubble. The youngest could not have been more than 10 years old. "Civilians," Dongmin announced over his radio, requesting instructions for prisoner handling. Before he could receive a response, the children scattered in different directions. Dongmin's soldiers hesitated, unsure whether to fire on obviously non-combatant targets. That hesitation cost them. The children had been positioned to draw the aliens into a carefully prepared ambush zone. Adult humans emerged from concealment, on 3 sides, wielding weapons that fired streams of superheated metal fragments. Only Dongmin survived the attack, and he was badly wounded. As human medics approached to treat him, he realized they intended to keep him alive for interrogation rather than execution. "Why?" he asked in broken human language he had learned from intelligence briefings. A human woman knelt beside him, checking his injuries with professional efficiency. "Because we want to understand how you think," she replied in fluent Kethmoran. "Understanding our enemies makes us better at defeating them." Back on the flagship, Commander Jin Ho received increasingly disturbing reports from his ground forces. Human resistance was not weakening as predicted. Instead, it was becoming more organized and effective with each passing hour. "Sir," reported Intelligence Officer Myung-ho, "we have intercepted human communications. They appear to be receiving support from other worlds. Impossible, we are jamming all long-range transmissions. They are using quantum entanglement communicators, sir. Military-grade equipment that should not exist in a primitive civilization." Jin-ho studied the tactical display with growing unease. His forces controlled no strategic objectives on New Seoul. They held no territory beyond their immediate defensive positions. Most disturbing of all, they had captured no human leadership figures. "Where is their command structure?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. Every human we encounter claims to be following orders, but we cannot locate the source of those orders." Communications Officer Yoon Seo interrupted with an urgent report. "Commander, we are detecting ship movements in the outer system. Multiple vessels approaching at high speed." The main screen showed a formation of human ships that had not been present in the original intelligence reports. These were not civilian cargo vessels. They were military craft, armed and moving with obvious hostile intent. "How many?" Jin-ho asked. 37 vessels, sir. Mixed classes, but all showing weapon signatures." Jin-ho felt the first real moment of doubt since beginning this operation. The humans had ships hidden in their own system, waiting for an opportunity to strike. This suggested a level of military organization that contradicted every intelligence assessment. "Sir," Tactical Analyst Chang Min reported, "sensors are detecting additional activity throughout the system. Asteroid mining facilities are powering up weapon systems. Several installations that appeared to be research stations are now broadcasting military identification codes." The truth struck Jin-ho like a physical blow. The humans had been ready for this attack. They had prepared defensive positions, hidden military assets, and coordinated response plans. This was not a primitive species caught off guard by superior technology. This was a military trap, and the Phantom Talon Regiment had walked directly into it. On New Seoul, Administrator Wu Jin emerged from the underground command center to observe the approaching human fleet through long-range telescopes. The cavalry was arriving, just as planned. "How long do we hold out?" asked Captain Minho. "We do not hold out," Wu Jin replied. "We advance. The aliens came here expecting easy conquest. Instead, they are about to learn what happens when you threaten human territory." Above them, the first human ships entered weapons range of the Kethmoran fleet. The aliens found themselves fighting not just for conquest, but for survival, and they were beginning to understand that survival against humans might be more difficult than anyone in the Empire had ever imagined. The human fleet struck with precision that shocked Commander Jin-ho. Their ships moved in coordinated formations that seemed impossible for a primitive species, targeting Kethmoran vessels with weapons that should not have existed in human space. Fleet. Admiral Do-hyun commanded the human assault from his flagship, the Incheon. His tactical display showed the alien fleet in perfect detail, with weaknesses highlighted by analysis systems that had been studying Kethmoran technology for decades. "Target their command ship's shield generators," Do-hyun ordered. Weapons. Free. Human ships opened fire with kinetic projectiles accelerated to incredible velocities. The Kethmoran shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, proved inadequate against streams of tungsten penetrators moving at significant fractions of light speed. Commander Jin-ho watched in disbelief as his flagship's shields failed under the human bombardment. "How do they know our shield frequencies? This information is classified beyond their technological capability." His question was answered when the human fleet began broadcasting captured Kethmoran communications. Human. Voices spoken fluent Kethmoran, using proper military protocols and technical terminology. Kethmoran vessel designation Sword of Victory. "This is Admiral Do-hyun of the Human Defense Fleet. We have analyzed your defensive systems and found them inadequate. Surrender now and your crew will be treated according to galactic warfare conventions." Jin-ho activated his response channel. "Human Commander, you do not understand what you are fighting. The Kethmoran Empire spans hundreds of worlds. We are merely the advance force." "We understand perfectly," Do-hyun replied. "You are invaders in human space and you will be dealt with accordingly." The human attack continued with systematic efficiency. Each Kethmoran ship that was disabled had its crew captured rather than killed. Human boarding parties moved through damaged alien vessels with obvious experience in zero-gravity combat. On New Sol, the ground battle had turned into a nightmare for the remaining Phantom Talon forces. Human resistance fighters had somehow acquired Kethmoran equipment and were using it more effectively than the original owners. Engineering specialist Ye Jun led a team of human technicians through a captured alien supply depot. They moved with practiced efficiency, identifying useful equipment and discarding what they could not immediately repurpose. These energy weapons are poorly designed, Ye Jun announced, examining a Kethmoran plasma rifle. The power cells are inefficient, and the targeting system has obvious vulnerabilities. Within hours, human workshops were producing modified versions of alien weapons that outperformed the originals. They combined Kethmoran energy technology with human kinetic systems, creating hybrid weapons that surprised even their designers. Research director Ki Young worked in an underground laboratory that had been hidden beneath a grain storage facility. Her team had access to intact Kethmoran equipment and several living prisoners who provided technical information under interrogation. Their technology is advanced but inflexible, she reported to the resistance leadership. They build everything according to strict specifications with no room for field modification. We can improve their designs by making simple changes they never considered. The psychological impact on Kethmoran forces was severe. Soldiers who had expected to fight primitive humans with crude weapons found themselves facing enemies who used superior versions of their own equipment. Sergeant Dongmin, now recovering from his wounds in human medical care, watched his captors work with growing amazement. The humans treated injured aliens with the same efficiency they showed their own wounded, but they also questioned every patient about technical details of Kethmoran equipment and tactics. "Why do you heal us if we are your enemies?" he asked the human doctor treating his injuries. Dr. Sang-ho continued his work while answering. "Because healthy prisoners provide better information than dead ones. We learn from everyone we capture." Learn. What? How to defeat the rest of your people when they arrive. The systematic nature of human intelligence gathering disturbed Dongmin more than threats would have. These humans approached warfare like scientists conducting research experiments. They were not just fighting the current battle, they were preparing for future conflicts. In space, the human fleet had disabled most of the Kethmoran vessels without destroying them. Admiral Do Hyun wanted intact ships for study purposes and living crews for interrogation. Commander Jin Ho found himself prisoner aboard his own flagship, watching human technicians examine Kethmoran systems with obvious expertise. The humans worked with tools and equipment that seemed perfectly designed for analyzing alien technology. "How long have you been preparing for this?" he asked his captor, a human intelligence officer named Chang Min. "Longer than you might think," Chang Min replied in perfect Kethmoran. "We have been studying your people since our first deep space probes detected your empire's expansion patterns 40 years ago." "Impossible. You achieved faster than light travel only 200 years ago." Chang Min smiled coldly. "We achieved faster than light travel 200 years ago. We have been exploring beyond our official territory for much longer than that. Did you think we would expand into space without learning about our potential neighbors?" The revelation struck Jin Ho like physical pain. The humans had been watching the Kethmoran Empire for decades, studying their technology and military tactics in preparation for inevitable contact. Human stealth ships had observed Kethmoran fleet movements. Human agents had infiltrated alien facilities to gather intelligence. The entire invasion had been anticipated and prepared for. "Your intelligence reports were wrong," Jin Ho said quietly. "No," Chang Min corrected. "Our intelligence reports were carefully crafted to make you believe what we wanted you to believe. We needed you to underestimate us long enough for us to complete our preparations." The systematic deception was more disturbing than any military defeat. The humans had manipulated Kethmoran intelligence services into providing false information about human capabilities and intentions. On New Sol, Administrator Wu Jin stood in the main square of New Busan, watching human engineers disassemble captured alien vehicles. Children played nearby, using pieces of Kethmoran armor as toys. Combat Engineer Insu approached with a status report. We have secured all alien positions on the continent. Total enemy casualties, 4,300. Our casualties, 812. The numbers were shocking. Human forces had defeated technologically superior aliens while taking fewer losses than their enemies. This contradicted every principle of military science known to the Kethmoran Empire. What about prisoners? Wu Jin asked. 2,700 captured alive. Our interrogation teams are extracting detailed information about their empire's military structure, technology, and expansion plans. Wu Jin nodded with satisfaction. The Battle of New Seoul was ending, but the war for human survival was just beginning. Everything they learned from this encounter would be essential for facing the larger Kethmoran Empire. Above the planet, Admiral Do Hyun received reports from human intelligence teams throughout the captured alien fleet. The information they were gathering painted a clear picture of the threat humanity faced. The Kethmoran Empire controls 417 worlds, reported Intelligence Director Soo-jin. Their military consists of approximately 50 million soldiers and 12,000 starships. The numbers were overwhelming. Humanity's total population was less than 20 billion, spread across dozens of worlds and space stations. Against an empire of that size, conventional military resistance seemed impossible. But Admiral Do Hyun had not expected conventional warfare to succeed. The humans had been preparing for asymmetric conflict from the beginning. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. All captured alien technology is to be reverse-engineered immediately. All prisoners are to provide complete technical briefings on Kethmoran systems and tactics. Human engineers began the process of transforming alien technology into superior human weapons. The Kethmoran had provided them with everything they needed to understand their enemies' weaknesses. Commander Jin Ho watched the human crews working on his ship and realized the terrible truth. This had never been about conquering primitive humans. This had been about humans acquiring the knowledge they needed to fight an interstellar empire, and they had succeeded perfectly. The Phantom Talon Regiment was gone. Their ships, their technology, and their strategic intelligence were now in human hands. The humans had not just survived the invasion, they had transformed it into the greatest intelligence-gathering operation in their species' history. Jin Ho began to understand that the humans were not primitive. They were patient, methodical, and absolutely ruthless in their pursuit of survival. And they were no longer the hunted. They had become the hunters. Supreme War Marshal Daeho stood in the silent communication center, staring at displays that showed nothing but empty space where two of his fleets should have been. The Phantom Talon Regiment had vanished without sending a single distress signal. Admiral Bora's massive reinforcement fleet had suffered the same fate. 15,000 elite soldiers, over 300 starships, the finest warriors and most advanced technology in the Kethmoran Empire, all gone without explanation. Sir, Communications Officer Yoon Seo reported nervously, "We have lost all contact with our forces in human space. No emergency beacons, no automated distress signals, no communication of any kind." "Equipment malfunction?" Daeho asked, though he knew the answer. "Negative, sir. Our monitoring stations confirm that the vessels reached the human system and engaged in combat." After that, silence. Intelligence Director Myung-ho approached with preliminary reports from long-range reconnaissance probes. His scaled skin had turned pale gray, a sign of extreme stress among Kethmorans. "War Marshal, the probe data is disturbing. Human space shows massive industrial activity. Energy signatures indicate weapons production on a scale that exceeds our initial estimates by several orders of magnitude." Daeho studied the intelligence reports with growing dread. According to the data, human worlds were producing military equipment at rates that should have been impossible for their technology level. "Are these readings accurate?" "Verified through multiple sources, sir. The humans appear to have achieved industrial capacity that rivals our core worlds." General Hyun-woo entered the command center with additional disturbing news. "War Marshal, our border monitoring stations are detecting unknown vessels approaching Kethmoran space. The ships use familiar technology, but with modifications we do not recognize. The tactical display activated, showing sensor contacts at the edge of Kethmoran territory. The vessels moved in formation patterns that seemed almost familiar, but with subtle differences that suggested superior coordination and planning. Human ships? Deho asked. Analysis suggests they are using hybrid technology combining human and Kethmoran systems, reported technical analyst Jian Wu. The energy signatures match our own weapons, but with power outputs that exceed our design specifications. The impossible truth was becoming clear. The humans had not just survived contact with the Kethmoran Empire. They had captured and improved upon alien technology with unprecedented speed. Sir, Scout Commander Youngsu reported from the outer monitoring stations. The human vessels are broadcasting on our military communication frequencies. They are requesting diplomatic contact. Deho felt his confidence crumble. The primitive species that should have been conquered in 3 weeks was now approaching Kethmoran space with stolen technology and demands for negotiation. Open communication channel. The main screen activated, showing a human male in what appeared to be a military uniform. He looked directly at Deho with calm confidence that contradicted everything in the original intelligence reports. Supreme, War Marshal Deho, the human said in perfect Kethmoran. I am Admiral Do-hyun of the Human Defense Fleet. We need to discuss the future relationship between our species. Where are my ships? Deho demanded. Your ships are safe, Do-hyun replied. Your crews are being held according to galactic warfare conventions. They will be returned when we reach an acceptable agreement. You dare take Kethmoran soldiers prisoner? We dare many things, War Marshal. We dare to defend our territory. We dare to fight enemies who think we are primitive. We dare to learn from those who underestimate us. The communication was interrupted by urgent reports from Fleet Commander Hyojin. Sir, sensors are detecting massive fleet movements in human space. Hundreds of vessels, many using our own technology. Deho realized the scope of the disaster. The humans had not just defeated his forces. They had used those defeats to transform themselves into a military power capable of threatening the entire Kethmoran Empire. What do you want? He asked. Admiral Do-hyun. We want to establish proper diplomatic relations between equals, Do-hyun replied. We want guarantees that Kethmoran forces will not enter human space without permission. We want compensation for the unprovoked attack on our territory. Compensation, technology transfer, territorial concessions, and formal recognition of human sovereignty. In return, we will consider returning your captured personnel and vessels. The demands were outrageous by Kethmoran standards. No conquered species had ever dictated terms to the Empire, but these humans were clearly no longer conquered if they had ever been. And if we refuse? Deho asked. Admiral Do-hyun's expression did not change. Then we will continue our current expansion into your territory. We have learned much about warfare from studying your military methods. We believe we can improve upon them significantly. The threat was clear. The humans were not offering surrender. They were demanding it from the Kethmoran Empire. After the communication ended, Deho stood in shocked silence. Strategic advisor Wu Bin approached with preliminary damage assessments that made the situation even worse. Sir, intelligence indicates that human forces now possess complete technical specifications for all our military equipment. They know our defensive capabilities, our fleet formations, and our strategic planning procedures. How is that possible? They appear to have systematically interrogated every prisoner they captured. Our soldiers provided detailed information about Imperial military structure and operations. The systematic nature of human intelligence gathering was more disturbing than military defeat. These primitives had approached warfare like scientists, conducting research, learning everything they could about their enemies while revealing nothing about themselves. Sir, Intelligence Officer Sunmi reported, analysis of human communications suggests they have been monitoring our empire for decades. They knew about our expansion patterns and military capabilities long before we detected their existence. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place. The humans had never been primitive. They had been patient, methodical, and absolutely ruthless in their preparations for inevitable contact with galactic civilization. Recommendations? Daeho asked his assembled staff. The silence stretched for long minutes before General Hyunwoo spoke. War Marshal, conventional military action appears inadvisable. The humans have demonstrated superior tactical planning and technological adaptation. Further conflict could result in significant losses to Imperial forces. Are you suggesting we negotiate with primitives? I am suggesting we negotiate with equals, Hyunwoo replied quietly. The admission struck the command center like physical pain. The Kethmoran Empire, which had conquered 47 worlds over 3,000 years, was being forced to treat humans as equals after a single failed invasion. 3 days later, Daeho sat across from Admiral Do-hyun in a neutral meeting space arranged by both fleets. The human looked exactly as he had in their first communication, calm, confident, and completely unintimidated by meeting the supreme military leader of an interstellar empire. Your terms are acceptable, Daeho said quietly. The Empire agrees to recognize human territorial sovereignty and establish formal diplomatic relations. Excellent, Do-hyun replied. Your captured personnel will be returned within the week. We look forward to peaceful cooperation between our species. As the negotiations concluded, Daeho realized the true scope of what had happened. The humans had not just survived first contact with galactic civilization, they had used that contact to transform themselves into a major power capable of challenging established empires. 6 months later, Daeho received intelligence reports that chilled him to his core. Human ships were appearing throughout the galaxy, establishing contact with other species and offering advanced technology in exchange for diplomatic recognition. The primitives who should have become slaves were instead becoming the dominant power in their region of space. They used captured Kethmoran technology as the foundation for rapid expansion and technological development that exceeded anything in recorded history. Scanner operator Dongmin detected the first human exploration ships entering previously unknown sectors of space. The vessels moved with confidence that suggested detailed knowledge of galactic geography and political structures. Sir, he reported to his commander, the humans appear to be mapping territory far beyond their original colonial systems. The truth was becoming clear to anyone willing to see it. Humanity had not been content with defending their existing territory. They were expanding rapidly, using superior technology and tactical knowledge gained from defeating Kethmoran forces. In the end, Supreme War Marshal Daeho issued the order that would define his legacy. All records of the human encounter were classified beyond the highest security levels. The official report stated that the Phantom Talon Regiment and Admiral Bora's fleet had been lost to navigation accidents in deep space. The Kethmoran Empire could not admit that primitive humans had defeated their finest forces and used that victory to become a galactic superpower in less than a year. But in the deepest classified files, the truth remained. They had sent their finest to conquer humans, and none had returned as conquerors. Instead, they had become teachers, inadvertently providing humanity with everything needed to